A year ago, my life looked almost perfect from the outside. I had a steady job, a small but close circle of friends, and a girlfriend I'd been with for nearly 4 years. Let's call her Emily. To everyone else, we were the couple people pointed to as relationship goals, behind closed doors. Though, things were different. At first, the little red flags didn't seem like a big deal. She'd get defensive if I asked about certain male friends. She'd guard her phone like it contained state secrets. But every time I brought up my concerns, she'd twist it into me being insecure, jealous, or controlling, and I believed her. I wanted to trust her so badly that I convinced myself I was the problem. Then one night, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. She'd said she was staying late at work, but her office-tagged photo on Instagram told a different story. She was at a rooftop bar across town with people I'd never heard of. When she finally came home, I asked her about it, calm as I could manage. She smiled, shrugged, and said, "Oh, I didn't think it was a big deal. Just some coworkers." Something inside me cracked that night. For the first time, I started looking past her excuses and noticed how the puzzle pieces didn't fit. The late nights, the constant texting, the coldness whenever I tried to get close. My gut screamed the truth, but my heart refused to listen. A week later, the truth walked straight into my face. It was a Saturday morning. I'd gone out for coffee, planning to surprise Emily with her favorite latte. As I walked back to our apartment, I saw her car parked outside, but there was another car too. One I didn't recognize. My stomach dropped. I opened the door, and there she was, tangled up with someone else on our couch. It felt like the floor disappeared beneath me. My hands went numb, my chest tight, and for a moment I couldn't even breathe. She jumped up, shouting my name, while he scrambled to grab his clothes. I didn't stay to listen. I put the coffee on the table, turned around, and left. The hours after our blur, I remember sitting in my car, staring at the steering wheel, shaking so badly I couldn't even turn the key. Eventually, I drove to a friend's place, and that's where I stayed for the next few days. Emily blew up my phone, with calls and texts, first apologizing, then begging, then accusing me of overreacting to catching her cheating in our own apartment. When I finally agreed to talk, she admitted it had been going on for months. The guy wasn't just some random fling. It was a coworker she'd been confiding in. She said she didn't want to lose me, but also didn't know how to stop. Hearing that broke me in a way I didn't think possible. I ended it right there. But the fallout didn't end with the breakup. The days after the breakup felt like walking through a storm. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every song, every street corner, every stupid inside joke reminded me of her. Nights were the worst. I'd lie awake replaying every conversation we ever had, wondering which parts were real and which were lies. Friends tried to help, but their comfort only scratched the surface. Some said, "You're better off without her." Others muttered, "At least you found out now." None of it touched the hollow ache inside me. What haunted me most wasn't losing Emily, it was losing the version of myself I'd been with her. I'd built so much of my life around her, that without her, I felt like nothing. Then came the anger, not just at her, but at myself. For ignoring the signs, for doubting my instincts, for staying when my gut screamed to run. I hated that I'd let her betrayal define my worth. That's when I realized I couldn't change what happened, but I could choose what I'd do with it. So I cut her out completely. Blocked her number, unfollowed her on social media, told mutual friends not to update me. Cold turkey. It was brutal, but necessary. And slowly, painfully, the fog began to lift. But healing isn't a straight line. Just when I thought I was moving on, life threw me another curveball. 2 months after the breakup, I bumped into Emily at a grocery store. I froze when I saw her. She looked the same smile, same laugh, but it felt like looking at a stranger. She tried to chat like nothing had happened, asking how I'd been, if I'd started seeing anyone. I kept my answers short. Then she said something that nearly knocked the wind out of me. You know, I never really loved him. It was just a mistake. For a moment, I almost believed her. That old pull, the comfort of familiarity, whispered that maybe we could fix it. But then I remembered that morning on the couch, the months of lies, the way she gaslit me into doubting my own reality. I told her goodbye and walked away. That night, I cried harder than I had since the breakup, but this time, it wasn't because I wanted her back. It was because I finally accepted that the person I thought she was never really existed. Healing is strange like that. Sometimes the deepest relief comes not from holding on, but from letting go completely. The real turning point came a few weeks later when I got a message from the guy she cheated with. "Let's call him Mark," he wrote. "I owe you an apology. I didn't know she was with you when it started." At first, I didn't respond. But curiosity got the better of me, and we ended up meeting for coffee. What he told me shattered whatever illusions I still had. According to him, Emily had painted me as some neglectful, borderline abusive boyfriend who didn't care about her needs. She used that story to justify everything. Hearing that hurt more than catching them together. She hadn't just betrayed me physically, she'd rewritten our entire relationship to make me the villain. But weirdly, that conversation gave me clarity. For the first time, I saw her actions for what they were. Not a reflection of my worth, but of her inability to be honest with me or with herself. After that, the healing sped up. I threw myself into new routines, working out, learning to cook, picking up old hobbies. I reconnected with friends I drifted from. For the first time in years, I started living for myself, not for someone else. And little by little, I began to feel like me again. It's been 6 months since everything fell apart. If you had told me back then that I'd feel peace again, I would have laughed in your face. But here I am. The pain didn't vanish overnight, it never does, but it softened with time. What helped the most was building a new routine. I started hitting the gym consistently, not just to get stronger, but to clear my head. I also picked up an old hobby I'd abandoned years ago, playing guitar. There were nights I'd sit for hours, strumming until my fingers ached, and for the first time in ages, I felt like myself again. I also began therapy. At first, I resisted it, felt like admitting weakness, but it turned out to be one of the best decisions I ever made. My therapist didn't just help me process the betrayal, she made me see the patterns of self-doubt and people-pleasing that had kept me trapped in a toxic relationship. Emily reached out once more, about 3 months in. She sent a long, emotional message about how much she regretted everything and how she chose wrong. I didn't reply. Not because I hated her by then. I didn't, but because I finally understood that going back would be a betrayal of myself. Mark, from what I've heard, things between them already fizzled out. Honestly, I don't care. That chapter of my life is closed. The real victory wasn't proving her wrong or watching karma catch up. It was reclaiming my own life. For the first time in years, my happiness doesn't depend on someone else's approval. I wake up each day excited about what's ahead, not dreading the next fight or the next lie. Do I still think about her sometimes? Of course, you don't just erase for years overnight. But now, when I think of Emily, it feels like remembering a movie I once watched. The emotions are gone, replaced with lessons I'll carry forward. And here's the biggest one. Love should never feel like begging for scraps. If you have to constantly question your worth, if you're always anxious about being enough, then it isn't love, it's control. These days, I'm not rushing into anything new. I'm focusing on me, on friendships, on the things that make life feel full. And for the first time in a long time, I feel free.